Hello and welcome to a new series I like to call Retro Rewind. It's where I review old horror movies that I've probably seen a million times. The goal of this series is to reignite a love of a certain film for the nostalgia heads, or introduce a movie to an audience that's never seen it before. Why am I doing this? It's my channel and I can do whatever I want. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. If you're new here, my name is Shay. I make videos about horror movies, horror TV shows, horror video games, and theme parks because I live in Central Florida and I feel like it would be a crime not to. And if you're not new here, welcome back. So this, like I said, is a new series that I'm starting, mostly because sometimes the content runs a little bit dry for me. Right now, we are still waiting for the last 3 house announcements for Halloween Horror Nights. I kind of already know what they are, but given the fact that they're all 3 IPs, that can change any second, which I would hate for that to happen, but they can pull it any second. Hopefully, all of the last 3 IPs that are gonna be announced are the ones that I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure that we're getting what we're getting. So while I'm waiting for that, I had to come up with some more ideas. There's been a drought of horror movies for me. There's a couple of new movies that came out in 2025 that I want to watch, but I'm thinking of saving that for something else. And really until the Hell House LLC Lineage movie comes out in theaters in August, I really don't have anything to talk about as far as this. I know I still have to finish Yellow Jackets. That's going to be priority for me to work on that, for the next week. In between all this, like watch the season 3 and in between all this, but I'll finish Yellow Jackets. We'll get there. But yeah, so because I don't have much to do right now, I thought I would start a series called Retro Rewind. Wow, that is so hard to say. Where I watch movies that I love or that I think would be interesting to talk about or that I haven't seen in a very long time. And I tell you guys how they go, show you guys some clips, and then I kind of review it and talk about like my history, the pop culture impact, all of that. And I got the idea because actually I was playing Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. I have something to tell you guys about that, but I was playing Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic and I got to the part with Jackie, the Jackie in the box. If you haven't seen the game, then I got to that part and I started thinking about clowns. And I remember that Killer Clowns from Outer Space is kind of my summer horror film. It just, I don't know, I don't think it takes place during summertime, I'm not sure, but it definitely encapsulates the essence of a summer sci-fi horror film. But before we get into that review, I wanted to talk about The Secret of the Mimic. I think I mentioned in my last video, I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember, that I was starting a gaming channel. I think I said it was gaming with creepy, but it's actually gaming while creepy, or creepy X gaming. I decided I was going to start doing video games over on this dedicated video game channel. So the first video is actually up. By the time you guys see this, it'll be up. It is me playing Secret of the Mimic. It's kind of messy, kind of funny. I'm still working out the kinks with the sound, with the lagging, and just with editing and everything, but it's getting better. It's better than Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, and definitely better than the mouthwashing video, because wow, that was bad. But I said before that I was going to start putting gaming videos over there, and then doing reviews of games over here, to kind of keep this a review channel and have a separate place to play games. I'm also gonna probably play The Sims over there, because I love The Sims. So be prepared for that. I'm gonna probably do some funny things, funny challenges, maybe some spooky challenges, or maybe even just do some creative sim videos where I do like a spooky sim, every day for the month of October. I don't know. We'll see. We're playing it by ear. But I'm going to continue with Secret of the Mimic sometime this weekend, and I'll have the second video up next week. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Go check out Gaming While Creepy. Okay, so let's talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it was released in 1988, and it's considered a horror sci-fi comedy film. I think it leans more into the sci-fi and comedy than horror necessarily, but it is considered a horror film. It was directed by Steven Chiodo, and it stars Suzanne Snyder, John Allen Nelson, and Grant Kramer as Mike Tobacco. I don't know if you guys heard me. Mike Tobacco. Okay, just so we're clear, the man's last name is Tobacco. So random. And this movie is a cult classic that has seen a resurgence in popularity over the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years. It's definitely become more prevalent in, you know, our pop culture. And I wanted to review it because of the fact that A, it was a movie that I used to be terrified of when I was a kid, and B, it's a movie that fits the summer aesthetic and is, you know, incredibly popular with older crowds who grew up with this film. So, we're going to go over the plot and talk about that. It's going to be a little bit of a long section, as usual. And then we are going to kind of go over some fun facts. I'll do my actual review there. We'll talk about the cultural resurgence and then my personal history with the movie. And then I'll give it my rating and we'll wrap up the video there. So does that sound good? But okay, but before I let you guys go, I need to remind you that if you like this video, please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Any engagement that you give me lets me know that you enjoyed what you just watched. So without further ado, grab your popcorn and some cotton candy. Just make sure nobody's inside of it first. And let's get ready to head to the big top for this creepy critique. Clowns from Outer Space begins with a badass rock song by the Dickies. Man, I miss the days when movies had their own theme songs. The opening credits establish the town of Crescent Cove, where our story takes place. After that, we are introduced to Mike and Debbie. They parked up on a lover's lane where other college students go to hang out. While they're enjoying their champagne and the shenanigans of Mike's friends, the Terenzi brothers, Debbie notices a shooting star plummeting towards Earth. She insists on going to find it and convinces Mike to make the trek over there. Meanwhile, an old farmer named Gene Green also spotted the shooting star, which he believes is Halley's Comet. He goes off with his dog, Pooh Bear, only to find that what fell in his backyard was not Halley's Comet, it was a circus tent. Gene isn't deterred by this. In fact, he's a lot more excited for it than anything. While he investigates the tent, Pooh gets snatched up by an unseen antagonist. Once Gene realizes this, he attempts to pull the wire that was holding the tent down out of the ground and is electrocuted. While he recovers from the shock, a figure approaches, and we get our first glimpse of the killer clowns. Ugh, freaking ugly. The clown fires a ray gun at Gene, encasing him in cotton candy. Back in town, we're introduced to the police force of Crescent Cove. Dave Hansen, who has a history with Debbie, and Curtis Mooney, a man who has the worst case of main character syndrome I've ever seen outside of TikTok. This scene really just establishes the two characters' personalities. Mike and Debbie eventually make it to the circus tent, and they decide to go inside. Debbie is rightfully creeped out by the Technicolor decor and the lack of people walking around, but Mike thinks this is a European circus.
That new wave European circus fantastique.
They stumble into a room, however, that proves to them that this is no circus. It's a UFO. They run and hide in a room that's filled with cotton candy cocoons. As they're hiding from the bizarre clown that's in the room, they find Farmer Gene's skinless body inside of one of the cocoons. The two barely make it out of the ship before the clowns spot them and begin the hunt. Mike and Debbie go to the police station to tell Dave about it, but while they're there, Mooney thinks this is all just an elaborate prank to get him to retire. He says a line here that gives us a hint at his fate later in the film.
Make a dummy out of yourself. But you're not gonna make a dummy out of me.
Meanwhile, the clowns are now taking over Crescent Cove, walking through town and encasing the citizens in cotton candy. There's a clown who hits up a convenience store run by the most timid cashier ever. There's a clown who puts on a puppet show for this Weasley twin wannabe. We get to see my favorite clown, Shorty, encounter some bikers and deliver a punch that no boxer could survive.
What are you gonna do?
Knock my block off.
And so on and so forth. Mike and Dave drop Debbie off at home in order to keep her safe. Little do they know that the popcorn that the clown shot at her are like clown eggs or something. You'll see. Mike takes Dave to the spot where they found the tent, only to find that the tent is gone. This enrages Dave, who then arrests Mike. As he's driving back to the station, he stops at Lover's Lane, only to find the entire place covered in cotton candy. It looked like there was a struggle. At that moment, he decides to free Mike and call Mooney. Mooney, who's been fielding calls from panicked citizens all night, still thinks this is a joke that the entire town is playing on him specifically. Like, Mooney, not everything is about you, dude. While driving to Debbie's place, Mike spots one of the clowns doing shadow puppets at a bus stop for some people. His designs get more and more elaborate until he creates a T-Rex that swallows up the people before stuffing them in his popcorn bag. Mike freaks out and tries to ram Dave's police car into the clown, but he's too quick and he ascends to the heavens before the crash. Dave heads off to the police station to warn Mooney and call for backup, while Mike heads off in a random direction in hopes he can find a way to get to Debbie's. That's when he runs into the Terenzi brothers with their ice cream truck. Mike tries to convince them that there's killer clowns killing everyone in Crescent Cove, but they don't believe him. So he appeals to their more animalistic senses by telling them that Debbie has 2 roommates who love ice cream. Oh, and they have huge bazongas. At the police station, before Dave arrives, Mooney is still puffing out his chest, thinking the town is trying to drive him crazy. That is, until a killer clown walks into the police station. Of course, Mooney thinks that it's part of the prank, especially since the clown screws with him almost immediately when he comes into the station. Mooney cuffs him and takes him back to the holding cell where he has 2 college kids captive. Just as he's about to uncuff the clown's hands literally come off. Mooney is unnerved by this and asks to see his hands. The clown spontaneously grows them back. Determined to keep his cool, Mooney locks the clown in the cell with the boys, but before he can leave, the clown uses a noisemaker to choke him. Later, when Dave arrives, he's shocked to find that the station is dark. He goes inside and finds giant, colorful footprints on the floor leading back to the holding cells. As he walks down the hallway, the footprints start to coat the walls and the ceiling. I think this clown was imitating the Dancing on the Ceiling music video. Dave enters the cell once he sees a giant hive of cotton candy in the corner. He touches it and realizes these are the college kids that Mooney locked away. Dave rushes off, going to call for backup, when he comes across Mooney. Remember how Mooney said you won't make a dummy out of him when he was told about the clowns? Well, they made a dummy out of him. The clown has him tell the dumbest, driest joke of all time before having him drop one of the coldest lines ever spoken in a horror movie.
Don't worry, Dave. All we want to do is kill you.
At that point, the clown removes his hand from Mooney's back and descends upon Dave. Dave fires at him repeatedly until he hits the clown's nose. It explodes, and because his nose exploded, that subsequently meant the clown also had to explode, but not before doing a sick-ass Michael Jackson spin. Dave calls the neighboring town for backup. The Terenzi bros are still having a difficult time believing that these clown invaders are real, no matter what Mike says. And then they turn down a street featuring one of the worst Disney parades I've ever seen. Oh, that's not... okay. It's actually this parade. Now that the Terenzis have seen the clowns with their own eyes, it's time to go and get Debbie. But Debbie is in trouble. After her shower, she's gotten dressed and is getting ready to head back out to meet Mike and Dave. Suddenly, she's attacked by small clowns that are basically like snakes. Debbie is actually pretty resourceful, though. She's no slouch. She shoves her shower head into one of their mouths and throws the shower curtain over the other 2 so they can't bite her. When she gets downstairs, she hears Mike outside the front door calling to her. She opens the door, only to find that it's not Mike calling her. One of the clowns figured out how to imitate his voice. She attempts to escape out the window, but the other clowns are all standing there holding something for her to land on when she jumps. She realizes there's nothing she can do at this point. She's cornered. The clown fires at her, but instead of putting her in a corrosive cotton candy cocoon, say that 5 times fast, he puts her in a balloon. I don't know, maybe this clown had a crush on her, or maybe after they decimate a planet, they always bring home a toy to play with. Mike and the Terenzis arrive just as the clowns are taking off with Debbie in tow. Mike orders them to follow the clowns, which leads them to the carnival. This is where the clowns docked their ship. It's a lot less conspicuous than an open field. A security guard is walking through the carnival to make sure no one is there when a clown car pulls up and out jump the killer clowns. This man does not acknowledge that these clowns look like straight up nightmare fuel. He tells them that they can't be there. They produce pies and proceed to throw them at the guard, but as expected, the pies are also corrosive and it ends up melting him into a pile of cream and gore. A truly disgusting mix. I just have to highlight this moment where Shorty puts a cherry on top. He's so cute. Dave runs into Mike and the Terenzis, and they all decide to enter the ship. It's not long, though, before the Terenzis end up separated from Dave and Mike. They're accosted by 2 female clowns, one whose balloons inflate upon seeing them. Mike and Dave continue on, and they eventually find Debbie in the balloon. But the only way that they can get her out of it is by Dave shooting the balloon. He does so, but that alerts the clowns to the fact that they've got company. The clowns give chase to the trio until they're finally caught in a room they can't exit. Just when all hope seems lost, the Terenzi brothers in their ice cream truck and covered with lipstick from the lady clowns crash into the room. They pretend to be the great and powerful JoJo and command the clowns to let them go. Offended by their cheap cosplay, the real JoJo, aka Clown Zero, descends upon them all and destroys the ice cream truck. Dave realizes there's only one thing he can do: shoot it in the nose. He presses Mike and Debbie to leave the ship despite the two begging him not to do what he's about to do. They leave the ship and Dave is successful in blowing up not only Clownzilla, but the entire ship with the clowns in it. Mike and Debbie think that Dave is dead until the clown car falls from the sky and out comes Dave. He's a bit fatigued and his clothes are torn up, but he's otherwise okay. They also discover that the Terenzi brothers are still alive because they hid in the freezer with the ice cream before the truck blew. Mike, Dave, and Debbie look at the night sky. Debbie asks quietly, "Is it over?" At that moment, a bunch of pies come and hit the trio in the face. And given what we saw happen to the security guard, I'm assuming our three heroes were killed in the end. Okay, so let's talk about this movie because this is a very interesting movie. Just from what you guys have heard me say and seen, you can tell that this movie isn't really meant to be taken seriously. Let's start with the things I like. Let's start with the things I like about this movie. This movie is really funny. Like I said, I was afraid of it when I was a kid because you just see the image of the clowns, and obviously the clowns are really creepy looking. Like, even as an adult, I can acknowledge that they are very creepy looking. They're very gross looking. They look slimy and no. But when I actually finally did watch the movie as an adult, I thought the movie was really funny. And I am somebody who loves a good horror comedy. I'm not a big comedy fan. Let's be real. Like, I don't like the frat bro comedies like the 21 Jump Streets and the what was the other one? Neighbors. Like, I don't like those types of comedies. I prefer comedies that are, you know, a little bit more stupid, I guess. Like, those comedies, to me, it's more gross, and it's more how gross can we be? Like, what gross things can we do to make the audience cringe? I like comedies that's like on the level of like SpongeBob, where it's just dumb. And Killer Clowns kind of falls into that territory. It's like a movie where everybody's acting is very over the top. It's hard to take anything that's happening seriously because, and in a way, because everybody's so over the top, you kind of stop and wonder, this is not supposed to be taken seriously, right? It's like one of those, it's like The Room. It's like The Room, which is, I think, known as the seminal, like, so bad it's good movie. Not that this movie's bad like The Room, but everybody's overacting in The Room kind of adds to the charm of The Room. And that's the same thing with Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Everyone's acting is very over the top. I mean, I don't know how many times Mike said that they got Joe Lombardo. I don't know who Joe Lombardo is. We never saw a Joe Lombardo, but he just kept saying it. He's like, they got Joe Lombardo. Like, oh, okay, who is this man? Why do we care? It was just, the overacting was very, very fun, and it makes the movie a lot more fun to watch. And I'll also say this. The clowns' effects hold up. I know that those are suits. My cat just crashed into a box. I'm sorry. I know that those are suits because actually I believe it was Spooky Empire Con. I didn't go, but we have a Chucky doll in our living room, like an actual, like one that I purchased, not like Chucky didn't just show up to our house. And my cat, I guess, was playing near it and knocked it over, so it scared the crap out of her. But she's okay. I was more concerned because I saw her run by and her tail was like a raccoon sized. So anyways, but I do remember at Spooky Empire Con, the creators of Killer Clowns, they actually brought the clown suits. They actually brought them with them. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I actually didn't get to go that year. It would have been nice if I had gotten to go, but I thought that was pretty cool. And it was awesome to see that that was a suit. Like, that wasn't like, obviously it wasn't CGI. It was the 80s. But it was awesome to see that they actually made this. The clown suits just really, truly, in my opinion, they hold up. they hold up in this day and age. They're still disgusting. They're still creepy. They're still cool. You know, they're still really cool. So I give them that. I also give them, as much as this movie does flirt with the idea, I'll give them a free pass on this one because they do avoid sexualizing women in this movie. A lot of 80s horror movies or sci-fi movies really leaned into the whole like sexualization of women. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for it. There's a time and a place for it. But sometimes I'll be watching I'll be watching like an 80s horror movie and I'm like, oh my God, do we really need this girl to be naked? You know, my favorite, like, why is this happening scene is, or like, why is this happening scene in a movie is, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I will be talking about that this year. We're not going to get into it this year, but there's just a scene that happens in that movie that I'm like, did this need to happen? Did we need to see this? It doesn't add anything to the plot. It's just stupid. But in any case, yeah. So, like, I like the fact that, yes, they do, there's, the Terenzi brothers trying to bring those girls to Lover's Lane to park, and then they're like, what kind of girls do you think we are? And then, you know, like, there's Mike being like, hey, you know, Debbie's roommates got big jugs, and then they're like, all right, let's go, you know, but there's no actual full-on sexualization. Even with Debbie having a shower scene, like, the shower scene only shows her from like the shoulders up, and then it mostly focuses on what's happening outside of the shower, how all of the clowns are forming and everything. So again, I really appreciate that they didn't go the lowbrow route, especially for this being such a B movie. Like, they could have gone super lowbrow and there could have been naked women everywhere, like, for no reason. So I'm glad that they didn't do that, because it kind of makes, in a weird way, it kind of makes the movie a little family friendly. You can play this movie for your kids if you want to traumatize them. When it comes to things I don't like about this movie, I will say that the thing I really don't like much about this movie is I think it's really, really fast-paced. Like, it goes by really fast, even when you watch it for the first time. I mean, everything seems to happen in the blink of an eye. It's really fast-paced. I mean, again, I can appreciate a movie that loves to get to the point, but, like, there could have been a little bit more character development. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have a lot of complaints about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I mean, it does what it came here to do. It's a horror comedy that's meant to, like, not enrich people. It's meant to entertain people. It's meant to make them laugh. And, you know, maybe even make them cringe a bit and, like, you know, jump a bit. It's a fun movie, and I definitely think it's a movie that if you've never seen it before, I would totally recommend checking it out. So let's talk about some cultural impacts real quick, shall we? So as I said before, the last, I'll say 7-8 years, it seems like Killer Clowns from Outer Space has had sort of a resurgence. I was actually talking about this with my brother last weekend when we were talking about movies like Back to the Future, E.T., Jaws, and how you've got this generation now, Gen X, and even some millennials who grew up with those movies, who are now adults and now want to see those movies represented in a way. When I was a kid, I only knew of Killer Clowns from Outer Space because my brother and sister had told me about it and shown me it. As an adult now, it's kind of hard to escape it. It is kind of hard to escape it. It is just about everywhere now. So it's really very cool to see how a lot of movies from the 80s are making a comeback into the mainstream. The only downside is that they are making a remake of this movie. They announced it this year. And I don't know how well that's going to go over, because what makes this movie so great is kind of the cheesiness and the campiness of it. Without the cheese and the camp, I think it'll be a little bit too stupid. This movie cannot take itself seriously. It has to be a comedy to an extent. And also it says Ryan Gosling is going to be producing it. Amazon's supposed to be doing it, I think. It looks like, yeah, Amazon. So maybe it'll be good, because Amazon does pretty good with their stuff, but I don't know, I still don't trust it. The first time that I really encountered Killer Clowns from Outer Space was in 2018. Now, I was afraid of Killer Clowns from Outer Space for my entire life until 2018. And it was after I went to Halloween Horror Nights that year that I kind of watched the movie to say, is it really as bad as I remember it being? And then I watched it and I thought it was hilarious. They had a scare zone, Killer Clowns from Outer Space scare zone at Universal Studios Orlando during the 28th event, the 28th year. And it was actually, if you know Universal Studios, I'll try to put a picture up of it. Now this area is where there's food booths, but it's kind of like, if you have the New York section where the Mummy is and Finnegan's and the Blues Brothers show is, it's on the other side of that. It's like down that like pathway between Transformers and Fast and Furious. So if you know the area, then you know what I'm talking about. That whole area was like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And while that was cool, it was very small and I felt like they deserved more. Again, that was my first time encountering anything related to Killer Clowns from Outer Space since I was a kid. Well, not really since I was a kid. There was another time where I was performing and the movie was playing on a TV across from where I was performing. I personally was not excited for them there to have a Killer Clown section, and I walked through it because my brother and my sister were like, come on, you'll be fine. And I walked through it and I didn't hate it. But I was also sick that year in 2018. I was sick. I had a cold, or I was starting to get a cold. So I was definitely not really getting scared by anything necessarily. And then I got, when I got home, I watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space for the first time. And, first time since I was a child. And I was like, this movie is actually amazing. This movie's actually quite amazing. I actually love this movie. The next year is when they decided to do Killer Clowns from Outer Space as a haunted house. And I will say this, still to this day. First of all, 2019 for Universal Studios Orlando is still the best year that I've ever personally been to. They have not produced a year that has topped 2019. I have a feeling this year might be the year that does it. I'm not going to say it too early, but I have a feeling this year might be the year that tops 2019 for me just because of all of the things that they're doing. I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. But 2019 was my favorite year of Halloween Horror Nights. And that year they had Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and that was one of my favorite houses. To this day, I am still upset at the fact that Hollywood has gotten the Killer Clowns house twice, and we only got it once. I really want them to bring it back. I mean, they redid and they brought back the Halloween house, which was great. So maybe in another couple of years, they'll bring back Killer Clowns. I really hope so, because I love that house. The first thing I loved about this house is that when you go through haunted houses, any haunted houses anywhere, you're used to dark corners, dark spaces where you don't know where things are going to pop out, or you know where things are going to pop out because it's so dark and it's so vast and empty. This house was bright. It was the brightest haunted house I have ever been through. It was like walking through a funhouse. It was part funhouse, part walking through scenes from the movie. And it was so freaking cool, dude. It was so awesome. The other thing was, it smelled amazing. When you walked in, it smelled like popcorn. And in certain areas, it smelled like cotton candy. Even though you know the cotton candy is not edible in this universe, it still was kind of cool. It smelled amazing. Also, it had a photo op right at the entrance of the house where they had the ice cream truck, the Trenzi Brothers ice cream truck, and Shorty was there with his boxing gloves. And I do have a picture, I'll put it up. I have a picture of me with Shorty and his boxing gloves. I was so happy to see him, and we're like the same height, so technically I could be Shorty if I wanted to. I do have a Shorty costume. I have to fix it because I tore it, but I do have a Shorty costume. I'm hoping one of these days I can bring it out. But it was a great maze. It was really fun. It had its moments where it was very spooky and scary, but still it was brightly colored. It was Technicolor. It was fun. When I left that house, I was laughing. Like, I left the house. I screamed. I got scared. I had moments where I got scared, but when I left the house, I was genuinely so elated by how good it was and fun it was that I was just laughing, and my brother was like, that was really fun, and I was like, it was. I would go through that like 2 or 3 more times. It was good. It was good. Like that one that year, that one and Ghostbusters were like, forget it. They knocked it out of the park with those 2 houses. Which is funny because those are both houses that are based off of movies that are really not that scary. And like I said, they did actually do Killer Clowns from Outer Space twice. They did it in 2019 in Hollywood in 2019. And then they brought it back for 2022 in Hollywood. So Killer Clowns has happened twice in Hollywood. I'm a little salty. I hope that Orlando will bring Killer Clowns back for another year. If, whoever owns the rights for Killer Clowns didn't sell it to Six Flags. Please don't do it. Please don't sell things to Six Flags. In 2021, we started to see slowly but surely more merch and decor coming out involving Killer Clowns. And in 2023, we got a ton of animatronics we got a couple of animatronics at Spirit that you could buy. And a lot of props and costumes. That's actually where I got my Shorty costume, was at Spirit. So they definitely became, it's definitely become more of a staple. And this year I plan, if I'm able to, if they still have the merch, I do plan in 2023 to purchase a Crescent Cove sign or something Killer Clowns related that I can put back there with all my other stuff, because I love the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. They're amazing. It's such a good movie. So there was that. And then last year they released a multiplayer video game called Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. It is kind of in the same vein as like a Dead by Daylight, where like some people are the clowns and then some people are the townspeople, and your goal is to get away from the clowns, and the clowns are and as cool as that is, it still makes me sad that they make a lot of these games where you have to have like a big enough group of people to play. I don't have a lot of friends that own consoles. A lot of my friends don't play video games, and if they do, it's like Animal Crossing. I don't have a lot of friends that have consoles. So, like, the friends I do have that have consoles, it's, like, a really small amount of friends. So, games like that, like, I get so upset. Like, I can't play Dead by Daylight. I've played Dead by Daylight once. I so want to play that game again, because it's so much fun, but I don't have enough people to play that. And this game sounds like it would be a lot of fun if I had a group of friends to play it. I wish that these games would release a single-player mode, where you could either play as the clowns or you could play as the townspeople. They need to come out with a single player mode, at least so that people can experience the game and then, enjoy it. Like, I would be fine playing as Shorty, running around boxing people's heads off. So yeah, but I think it's cool. I mean, I didn't hear great things about this game personally, but if you've played it, let me know what you think. I've never played it before, and I've never even watched anybody play it, so there's that. But that is it for like the cultural relevance that this movie has. I accidentally closed what I was reading. So now, finally, before we get to my rating, I'm going to talk about my personal history with this movie. So, this movie was the reason that I had coulrophobia, which is the fear of clowns. This movie was the reason why I had it. I'm no longer afraid of clowns. We can thank Bill Skarsgård for that. We're not going to get into that. But yeah, I'm not afraid of clowns anymore. I think clowns are, especially like horror clowns. I think they're cool. They're fun. But I was terrified of clowns. Clowns were a big no-no for me for a very long period of time. And this movie was the reason why. My brother and sister grew up in the 80s, and they saw these movies when they were kids and stuff like that. So they would make me watch them when I was young. I'm pretty sure, well, I wasn't like a young. I wasn't like 6 or 7, like I was 13. But anybody who knows me personally knows that it took me a long time to get where I am today as far as watching horror movies. For a very long time, I couldn't watch horror movies because I was terrified of them. And they used to tell me how bad this movie was, how silly this movie was, how goofy it was. And then they made me watch like part of it, and I couldn't do it. I saw the clowns and I was like, no, I'm good. And I avoided this movie. I would see this movie on Netflix and I would just scroll past it. I'd be like, nope. And then, like I said, many years later, when I was an adult, I was playing a Halloween show at a local bar. I used to be in a cover band, and I was playing a Halloween show during the day at a local bar, and the bar had their theme for that year was clowns, was Killer Clowns. And they had Killer Clowns from Outer Space playing on all the TVs that were behind the bar that usually play like sports and stuff like that. So I'm standing on stage singing and then just looking across and Killer Clowns is playing, and I just couldn't look at the screen. I couldn't look at the screen. I had to keep looking away and looking like over here. Like it scared me. And like I said, eventually when I went to Halloween Horror Nights in 2018 and I walked through the scare zone, I decided to test myself and see if this movie was really as scary as I remembered it. And then I watched it and it wasn't. So, now it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's fun. It's a fun, funny movie. I got my cousin into it. She loves it. It's a fun, funny movie. It's the kind of movie that, like, I love to revisit, especially during the summertime. Like, I think it's a very good summer horror movie. It's very good for Summerween because it definitely doesn't take place during Halloween time. And whenever I think of circuses, I think of summertime. So it really very much feels like this is a summer horror movie. So that's pretty much it for my personal history with this movie, for how I feel about this movie. So what would I rate this movie out of 5 skulls? I think I would rate this movie a 3.5 out of 5 skulls. Only because it objectively isn't a good movie. It's objectively not a good movie. Now, mind you, on my Fandango account, I do have it rated 5 stars because if I enjoy watching a movie, I will rate it 5 stars regardless. Just because I'm like, I like it. It's a great movie. No, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is definitely a 3.5 for me. But it's so lovable. It's such a lovable movie that I can definitely appreciate it and watch it multiple times. It makes me laugh. It puts me in a good mood. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is great. I love this movie. Who do I think would enjoy it? Well, if you haven't watched the movie in a long time, let's say you grew up with this movie or you saw this movie when you were a kid. If you haven't watched the movie in a long time, it may be time for you to revisit it, especially since it's become so prevalent in pop culture again. If you've never seen the movie and you're not really afraid of clowns and you love a good cheesy sci-fi space flick, this is definitely perfect for you. And if you are a horror comedy fan, I would definitely say to, watch this movie, check it out. So yeah, that is going to be it for me today. What are your thoughts on Killer Clowns from Outer Space? If you're somebody who's watched the movie, what's your history with it? Did you grow up with it? Do you have any fond memories of it? I would love to hear that from you guys, just to know how you feel about this movie. So that's gonna be it for today. That's gonna be it for today. So if you like this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Any engagement that you give me lets me know that you enjoyed what you just watched. Please go check out Gaming While Creepy. I have gaming videos over there. And then let me know if there's any games that you want me to play that I can play on PC, because I haven't figured out how to do the console stuff yet. So if there's any games that you might want to see that I can play on PC, I'll definitely do that. But just keep a lookout over there. I will be back next week with another video, hopefully a actual movie review, and maybe some more channel updates. We'll see. I'm gonna get out of here and get ready to start my day, and I will see you guys next time with another creepy critique.